Well, hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Ascension Playground. This is your friend Ursie. My goodness, here we are, 2023. Could the polarity and diversity and the oppositional energies on our planet be any greater? Wow, things are really starting to build. And for me, I'm trying to hold myself in that center point of balance. It's easy to get down those little rabbit holes of fear or consternation. There's other words, but it's really a test for me to say, who are you? What do you believe? And what do you want to focus on that may manifest? So the energy that we focus our thoughts on, that's what comes to us. So for me, I was inspired by a friend who would just keep asking me questions or send me little notes like, hey, what about this? Are you going to look at the Galactic soul records and start sharing about synastry? This is when you take two charts and you try and understand what the connections are. Oftentimes we look at synastry to find out, is this my loved one, my significant other, my twin flame or soul flame, whatever you want to say. So I was inspired to follow that question. Several months ago, I wasn't feeling ready, but today, for some reason, with this energy, today is the last day of March 2023. And boy, is it powerful. When I say that, the detail for me would be take careful note, Ursula, of how you choose to respond to what you're witnessing. And we just heard that former President Trump has been indicted. So how to hold that energy from a human perspective. And for me, it's just adding to this cacophony of, wow, light meeting dark. You know, Mother Earth and the turbulence of nature, light and dark. We are shifting, we are moving. So when we look and discuss this idea of synastry, how am I in relationship with myself? That's what's coming up for me in this now moment. But here, I wanted to share this idea. Okay, synastry. What a beautiful word. I'm just looking at it. Two Y's, two S's, synastry. It has that little word try, sin, like synchronistic. This idea of this trying to figure out how things come together. All right, so I'm offering a free let's look at two galactic soul records side by side. And the records, as many of you know, come from that free calculator online that Julia Balaz and Hector created. You can go to www.galacticastrochart.com to look at your own record. And of course, put in the information for your family members, loved ones, just to see what are those galactic connections and how does it inform that relationship. Okay, so let me move to the next screen. So what I'd like to do is look at two basic charts. That's where I wanted to go first. A basic chart in this calculator will show you the strongest soul connections, conjunctions, and oppositions. So I know that's astrological language. What it's doing in a basic chart, when you click on that button, it'll show you the areas where you've most likely had a lifetime, an incarnation, a star family. And then when we look side by side at two charts, I'm going to be looking at what are the common star families and where are they showing up. Okay, so in my little introduction here, I'm bringing together this idea of the masculine and the feminine. I don't know why, but a lot of times when we're trying to find that soul partner, that flame, we're thinking sometimes of bringing in the equivalency. If you're the masculine energy, calling in the equal and opposite feminine. this desire to have the other come in is very human. And I think our media is personifying that as, oh, yeah, you got to meet your match. Who do you match with? Some of these reality shows are, do you know your type? If you know your type, then the match will be easier to recognize. I don't know. So let's just play this game of cosmic awareness of who have we matched with on a galactic soul level? And is that person now showing up in 3D with us? So again, it's this idea of the two becoming one. And when you read the esoteric wisdom or the literature, oftentimes we realize that the soul was whole, perfect, unified, and in balance together. But to expand itself, the soul chose to split and have this cosmic journey of finding itself again. This idea of finding the equal and opposite other self. And so I have a few thoughts about that, but I'll share that at the end. Let's see. So here is a basic chart. I'm going to move my picture up a little higher. What I've done is I ran the two basic charts on two individuals, and we noticed that they both have sun signs in Sagittarius. So right away, there's this affinity for the strongest light of this incarnation in 3D of choosing to be Sagittarian, okay, in that energy of what the Sagittarian energy represents. Expansion, exploration, this search and learning through the experience of long distance travel, not just earthly, but potentially galactically. So using my little pointer, we see this first person has a sun in Sagittarius with soul connection, very strong family connections to Ursa Minor, the constellation of the bear, Orion, and the Galactic. This other individual is also Sagittarian sun with a strong affinity to the galactic. So interesting, right away you go, wow, I wonder if they share the same galactic point, whether that's the galactic center, the supergalactic center, the Shapley attractor, or the other one. Let's see, the supergalactic, galactic, Shapley. Boy, I'm losing that fourth one, but I'm sure I'll come to it by the end of this. Okay, then we read the moon line. Here's a Capricorn moon and a Taurus moon. And so we see those points. But right away, when you do the scan, you see, yes, Andromeda is on both sides. Orion is on both sides of the experience of the family, of these two separate souls journeying together in a galactic sense. We see Canis Minor showing up strongly on Canis Major showing up strongly here, but none on this side. So again, synastry, where are the commonalities and where are the differences? Okay, Lyra showing up very strong here, and then Lyra also showing up here at the vertex point for this individual. All right, and Hydra on this side, not on that, Canis Minor, etc. All right, so what I did find, check out the Mercury line. Both individuals have Mercury in Sagittarius. So of course, their sun sign is in Sagittarius, but so is their Mercury. So from a galactic review, just cursory, they both share family, star family from Orion constellation, the great hunter, and Lepus, the bunny rabbit, the rabbit whom Orion, the great hunter, and his dogs, Canis Major and Minor, are chasing in the heavens. All right, so look at this, right? Here is that connection with the Mercury line. Let's see, next slide. So even bigger, I just put this so we could see it a little more closely. When you line up their Mercury and Sagittarius, and here's the two individual charts, I've highlighted in yellow that, yes, look at that. a lifetime together in Orion and Lepus through Mercury in Sagittarius. What does that mean? Oh, and I've also put little marks. Look at how many times the Galactic shows up on either side, Lyra, Andromeda. So if I was to summarize on this chart, the strongest soul connections from a galactic view for these two individuals is definitely looking at Orion and Lepus. But we can also look at their connections together in Lyra and the galactic levels in Andromeda. So those are the predominant, when you look at side by side, the strongest charts, or the strongest soul connections are those areas. But in this free little mini reading, I just wanted to call in a deeper dive into their Mercury. Mercury is the god of communication. You can summarize Mercury as this is how I think. This is how I process information. They both process information through the lens of the Sagittarian energy of saying, I'm going to learn, I'm going to think and learn about thoughts by exploring. I have to experience it, right? And then I'm going to communicate and talk about it. Now, we know in Western astrology that Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. So, of course, doing synastry next, I would look at, oh, what's their Jupiter line? Is there a connection there as well? Sagittarius by itself is what we call mutable fire. Of the four elements, fire, earth, air, water, fire and its mutability, its moving energy, this is showing up in Sagittarius as transpersonal. So the two souls would have a connection perhaps to wanting to talk about those things that are for the greater good. It's not about, oh, the personal, which is how are you feeling? How am I feeling? Or, social or interpersonal, which is just about the two. No, these two have come together to really start communicating and talking about how do we tune into this greater good? Is there something, and I'm talking channeling, that might want to come through when we open our hearts and agree and allow for the cosmic wisdom to move forward and through this couple? But going back to Sagittarius, it is the explorer. So with Demetra George assigning a particular need, which is very Jungian, to Sagittarius, it would say Sagittarius says, I have a need to explore and expand the horizons of my mind and my world. So any Sagittarian that you meet as a sun sign will have a keen mental flavor that I'm going to experience and expand myself and explore. This exploration of the galactic we'll get there next, but first I wanted to talk about how does Mercury in Sagittarius show up before we add that galactic layer of Orion. Let's see, this is what I found when you Google, what does Mercury in Sagittarius look like? So it's interesting, right? This particular description says Mercury Sagittarians are thinkers. They're the fire starters. They're the ones that are going to have those inspiring ideas. You can think of it as the archer throwing out, what about this? What about that? There's this impulse to respond to these thoughts. Okay, but from a Jupiterian and a highly expansive sense. Jupiter, remember, is also known as Zeus, the king of Olympus, the king of the gods. So a Mercury in Sagittarius, my goodness, think about what could come through these two coming together, because the energy expands and escalates. As Jesus the Christ said, where two or more are gathered, right? That wasn't just some kind of nice saying. Energetically, something does happen when we combine our energies with others. So two Mercury and Sagittarians coming together, two sun signs in Sagittarius, what could come through? So this light energy has a shadow side. Yes. So let's see, what is it? Yes, some are emphatic about their views. No, I'm right. I got the answer. No, it's really me. I got it. You didn't. Okay, so this could be a bit overbearing. It's a mindset that is open to learning and growing. That's good, but sometimes fiercely defending, but this is what I got. And that's okay. Think of those, the blind men who are sure that they know the elephant because from their lens, each of them thought they knew the elephant, whether it was the tail or the trunk or the foot. None of them had the whole picture. But Mercury and Sagittarius, yes, you can defend that which you know to be true, but just pull back a little bit and say, okay, that's what came in through me. What does the other person think and feel? What came in for them? So the archer is very attached to his arrows, his or her arrows. So those are the arrows that went out from Sagittarius's heart, wanting to know, and Mercury through the mind, and then what came back. Interesting, right? So this is the setup, the cosmic game of setup. We're going back now to that information on the galactic astro charts. And now here I've pulled in more information. We were first on the basic chart. This information is now in an extended chart. So here is one individual, Sagittarius Sun, 18 degrees, 25 minutes. The other is Sagittarius Sun, 18 degrees, 26 minutes. I mean, their suns are sitting on top of each other and have merged through their Mercury, how they think. So when they put their minds together, imagine what could come through. Again, the word channeling, joint channeling together. However, the first individual will have their information come through the fifth house. The other will have the information of the mind come through the fourth house. The fifth house and the fourth house have variation. And so together, combining that would be very interesting. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. But first, let's see how their Mercury lines are connected. Look, they share regals, Bellatrix, who are beautiful fixed stars within the Orion constellation. They share Nihal, this gorgeous fixed star in the constellation of the rabbit, Lepus. They also share a trine. Trining energy is harmonious. It is coming from the constellation Cetus, the whale, in the beautiful fixed star Tau Ceti. Okay, so when you look at this, two oppositional energies, okay, holding the opposition to their Mercury in Sagittarius, and a trine to the great whale. What I'm going to focus on, though, is Orion and Rigel, as this is a short mini. Look at this, 16 degrees, 16 minutes is how the fixed star is showing up. And then its orb is 2 degrees, 9 seconds, or 9 minutes in this first person's Mercury, 2 degrees, 19 minutes in the second person. Okay, that's just data. What does it mean? I shared with you that I would say how their Mercury show up a little differently. One is showing up in the fourth house. So their thoughts the fourth house will be grounded into their foundation, to their ancestors, to their home, that home imprint of the early childhood. They'll think through that. The ancestry DNA comes up, but it's also a home through the galactic home, the cosmic wisdom. So this person whose Sagittarian Mercury connection will speak their mind through the groundedness of their ancestors. The other person whose Sagittarian Mercury is showing up in the fifth house will speak more from the idea of self-expression, through games or play, through creativity. So variation, right? So if the two are together and decide to channel, the fifth house Mercury would say, let's just play. Let's not take this too seriously. Let's just see if you want to play, how things will show up. And the fifth house will invite the fourth house to, will you ground our energy together so that when we go into the galactic, we can ground and set an anchor into Mother Gaia. So what wants to come through won't keep us out in the cosmos, but we can bring in this information together when we work as a team. Okay, so looking at the houses. Now is the point where we're going to look at how do we take the information I just shared, which is mostly Western astrology, and now bring it into the galactic. So first I wanted to show you here up in the heavens, when we look, this is what the constellation Orion looks like. And both have had lifetimes, significant lifetimes. Here's Rigel at the foot of the great hunter. All right, then here's just another image. Here's the foot of the hunter Rigel, taking the stars and personifying it with the mythology of Orion, the great hunter. So this energy from Rigel through Mercury may have them energetically feel like, okay, there's a possibility here where we have protection under the foot of the hunter. So being at the foot is strong footing, it's protection. But when you look at some of the galactic, what is the energy here? Rigel brings a sense of the energy of benevolence, honor, and riches. Now, if it hasn't shown up for you in this lifetime, look through the lens of energy and riches. Has it been a rich life when I tune into how I communicate? There's also this idea of happiness, inventiveness, and glory. Those are older ways of bringing that language into this royal star, or excuse me, to this fixed star Rigel. All right. And on June 7th in the Northern Hemisphere, which I believe both individuals live in the Northern Hemisphere, June 7th is when our sun, named Sol, connects with Rigel. So the day before, the day of, and the day after, in June 7th, this portal of the star connection to your family and Rigel just gets amplified. You have access 365 days a year, but this portal of light opens for a stronger star family soul connection. It also happens on December 8th, when in the Southern Hemisphere, Rigel is conjoined the sun, but it's in opposition. It still makes what I call an elevator shaft of light, so that the Rigel star family and energy, if you invite it in, is even stronger. Okay, and so down here again is Rigel. Here I went back to this idea of here's what we see in the records. You know, what's coming up for me is this beautiful number 16, 16, 16, 16, 1 and the 6. The 1 is the individual. The 6 has a very sacred essence to it. It is an even number. It's in balance. It's the hexagon. So the 1 and the 6 combined equals 7, the stairway to heaven. So I'm getting this energy of the two, if they decide to come together and channel and allow through their heart this communication to happen with their Rigel family, and there's the possibility of some wonderful things being communicated through the couple. All right, and here's where I say thank you. This has been an incredible little toe dip into what synastry can look like from a galactic perspective. For me, it's always building upon the Western astrology, because we are in 3D, incarnate and anchored into Gaia in this body. And the beautiful part is when we decide to go galactic, we can't help but look at jumping off the timeline. You know, in 3D, we beginning, middle, and end, past, present, future. But this galactic consciousness, as we look and meet and greet our star family, moves us into that place of quantum. And excuse me, the big thought that's really coming up for me now is the message of the stars really want to say through this beautiful fixed star of Rigel, excuse me, is when we look at synastry, try and look from the lens in your heart that you are enough. You really are enough. Don't necessarily have to buy into what the media keeps telling us day in and day out, that you're not enough. You have to go buy this. You have to look a certain way. You have to go find your soulmate. Keep searching, keep looking. It may not be the person you're married with. Is it an animal, that's going to make you feel fulfilled? That is all duality and polarity consciousness, which is it's of the Piscean era, the age that began over 2,000 years ago. We're in this window now of moving into the age of Aquarius, but we're connecting now to the Pegasus constellation that is closest to the 0 degrees Aries point, with Pegasus beautiful star called Shiat. So this idea of Pegasus, the freedom to expand and explore, the horse, the winged horse that is connected to Jupiter, right? It is Jupiter's horse. So Pegasus, please remind us that we are enough, that all of this is a cosmic game of us individually trying to expand and remember that we truly are part of it all. So going from polarity or duality consciousness into unity consciousness, it's a huge leap, So when we talk about synastry, what really is hidden in underneath that? Are you really looking for that twin flame, that confirmation that this is the one and we're meant to be together? Just know that if you peek behind the curtain, there could be a lie. The lie is hidden, and it's really trying to tell you that you need to keep searching, keep buying, keep pretending that you are not enough. And that lie is up right now. I'm calling it out because here I want to really share the channeled messages. You are enough in this now moment. You truly are. And when we remember that we are enough and we are magnificent, imagine how that just feels. Even if you can just breathe into that moment for this half a second. Just, I am enough. I am enough. I am enough. And eventually that word enough gets pushed over, and all you need to say clearly is, I am. Because when you say that, in fact, I'm seeing and feeling orbs right now. When you say, I am, there is this connection with your higher self that really then sparkles and grows and magnifies. I am. I am enough. Thank you, dear friends, for listening. I hope that this message, even though it might sound a little bit like, I was just wanting to learn about synastry, hold this idea of the divine timing that maybe, just maybe in this now moment, it's good for all of us to remember, I am enough. Thank you, and we'll see you next time on the Ascension Playground. Bye for now.